I'm going to go through three types of reflection. Sometimes when we reflect, if we do it at all, it's thought of as being something we only do in retrospect, after something's happened. I'm going to emphasize that there are three types of reflection, and there's quite a bit of research and quite a bit of publications out there that support this and that enhance what I'm about to say. So I'm just going to cover some of the basics here and see what you make of this. I think this is very important because the more consciously, explicitly that we reflect, the more likely we'll gain the most learning from experiences and from planning for them. So here come the three types of reflection. The first one is to reflect forward. That might sound like a bit of a strange thing to say. Like I say, sometimes we're locked into reflection being a backward-looking thing. So reflecting forward is about saying, what's going to happen? What am I going to experience? What have I learned from the last time I experienced this? How am I going to do this? How can I use the best me here? It's about reflecting forward and not being taken by surprise by as many things as you would otherwise be had you not reflected, thought about, planned, prepared. And that's reflecting forward, because when it comes to looking ahead, and here we come, it's about planning, anticipating, preparing, and being ready. Simple as that. It sounds straightforward. And it's best not done just as a fleeting thought, but as a conscious, deliberate, slowed down process that explicitly prepares us for what's about to take place, which could be a minute later, 3 hours later, sometime next week. The basic principle is no matter when it is that you're preparing for, that you are prepared. So what happens after this? After reflecting forward, the second form of reflection is reflecting in the moment. I do like these words, in the moment, because when we're in the moment, and that moment can sometimes be emotionally charged, intellectually and skills application-wise, very challenging. A lot of the situations in which we need to use the preparation, the forward advanced reflection, a lot of those situations are charged, they're difficult. When it's going on, we just don't have the headspace or even the recognition to think, aha, this is what I prepared for. This is what I was getting ready for when I was preparing for what I'm doing now. That's hard to do because you're doing it. It's going on around you. You can't say, stop for a moment. I want to think about how I thought this might go and what I want to do at this moment. Moments change. We're taken by surprise by things that we couldn't reflect forward for. Nonetheless, the more prepared we are, the more ready we become for what the in the moment requirements and challenges are for us. So this is where we use our preparation. It's when we find out if we prepared thoroughly, if our reflecting forward was sufficiently thorough. So that leaves one to come. Here we go again, reflect forward, reflect a moment, and the third one is, of course, reflecting back, the one perhaps that is more familiar. The problem with reflecting back and only reflecting back is that we can't change anything. All we can change is the next time we do something. So if we confine ourselves to purely thinking back to what has happened, which is, I think, too often the only kind of reflection that takes place, we don't get the opportunity that we have in reflecting forward to influence events, to actually make them happen more positively. If the only reflecting that's done is backward, all we can do, it's a big all, is to take the learning from that forward to when we next put that into practice. The same event or the same demands on us might be made. So there is value in reflecting back. Yes, there is. It's not as much value as going through the model, reflecting forward in order to influence and enhance events, to reflect in the moment when we can, and when we recognize we're able to do so, difficult though that is. Yes, as I say, there's value in reflecting back, but it's limited. And it shouldn't be the only form of reflection that we use, because if we don't use the other two, particularly the first one, then we're not in a position to, I keep using the word influence, and that's the word that I think is appropriate here, because reflecting forward has such value because it can actually cause something to go more favorably than if we hadn't reflected forward thoroughly. And I stress the thoroughly, not just a thought. You might take notes. I reflected forwards in my learning log in preparation for this, for instance. It might seem illogical to think I should write something down. But unless we write something down, we're not as consciously aware of what the reflection process we're going through is actually telling us. To have a thought and say, yes, I reflected, isn't enough. So I think there's value in all three of these. And I'll be interested what other people think of them.